First up is Jesse, and yeah, from a quick look, this is looking really good. Um, let's take a look at. First thing I want to say is I'm having a real hard time figuring out which files to open. I have to show you, like when I go to open this archive thing, you know, I get so it's in here, and I get this and that and that, and then there's these three different ones, and I have to dig through each one and look, and then there's two scenes in there, and then there's stuff in here, and then I don't even know if I have the right one open, and then there's stuff in here. Anyway, you really need to get everything just in one project folder. Just have one project folder, have all your scenes in that project, the scenes folder of that project folder, and have all your source images and the source images directory of that project folder, because it's just, anyways, it's confusing, and then obviously the textures don't all work. And okay. Um, so yeah, this is really good blocking. I really like it. How? Just want to check that yeah, we are real time. Okay. Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that not even 5 seconds? So we did want to. Let me just check that it's. Yeah, it is playing real time. So what I would say is for the camera, first, let me. Assuming, yeah, we're in camera 1. Okay, view, camera settings, resolution, gate. I think that's an okay starting shot, but what I would do is like maybe around here. So let's set a keyframe, select camera, S for set keyframe, and then maybe somewhere like here, try changing the camera angle, you know, maybe, I don't know, something like that, like this maybe. And let's set a keyframe. I'm going to put on auto keyframe. And I'm just going to change my tangent type to, I just double click to select all the keyframes, change the tangent type to step, so the camera just does a straight cut. It doesn't, see if you like this better. I think that I don't really encourage a lot of camera movement, but this is one where I might, set a keyframe here and do some little simple, either maybe a tilt up. Oops. So maybe over. Oh, let's put this back on camera 1. Okay. So maybe over these, starting here, this is the same, and then maybe it starts to tilt up there to about here. So I'll just do a simple tilt up and make sure this one's on there's a flat tangent to give me like a slow in, slow out, and same with this one. Okay. See if you like this better. I like that better. So something like that, but I just think, staying in the really wide shot the whole time, you're kind of missing out. So let's just focus on the animation. The thing with the walk is that this foot should say planted while the next foot goes in front, so that should stay on the ground, and then that foot should be in front, and then that foot should be planted, and this foot should be in front, and so on, and you've kind of skipped all that. I would look out for stuff like this where you have the foot going through the ground. And I think that timing's alright. You know, you may want to do a little bit more follow through in anticipation with this jump, kind of get him to crouch down a little tighter. And yeah, but overall it's a good job. I just think I think as you add detail to this walk, you're gonna really have to clean up how the feet are sticking and getting planted. This is Candace, and let's start with the movie. Okay, here's the movie. I think that's a good start. Let's take a look back at the My file. First thing I'd say is when you turn these in, as it mentions in the submissions directions, make sure you use archive scene. So rather than just zipping a few files together, choose File, Archive Scene, and that will create a zip file so I have all the textures and everything with it. Then I'm not really thinking your camera angle is showing this off as best as it could. Am I seeing the whole animation here? Okay, yeah, that's it. It ends there. Alright. So, show the curves. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good start. I just think maybe try a different camera angle, you know, maybe something more. Ooh, I always do like foreground objects like this thing right here. And then if you're going to go further with it, you could cut around here, to a different camera angle like this or something. I might hide some of those surfaces so you have a little more room to move in here, but whatever. But either way, yeah, try something where you can really just see her better. Yeah, maybe, ooh, I kind of like that. When you get both of those things in there, I wonder if we can, oh yeah, that's not too bad. Kind of like that. Sort of frames it a little bit more. Let me see a little bit more of her. Sort of like that. Get that nice foreground object, give you a sense of depth. So yeah, try a different camera angle. And this is a good start, really. I'd be interested to see what happens if we change all your tangents to auto tangent. I'm just going to select all these controls. Tangent, auto. Yeah, so you probably... Do you have some holds in there? Kind of. But yeah, you'll need to work on that and make sure it feels like you need a little bit more on this arm. That's really showing up now, and the other arm as well, and the fingers. So maybe kind of go through these poses and make sure you're thinking about what the arm is doing and the wrist and the fingers. I would also look at the head in each of these poses. One thing you can do is, for example, I can take a look at that head, go into the graph editor, and take a look at it, and you can see, same, all these are the same, right? Different, same. So really, each of these controls should adjust in each of these poses, and you've got a lot of poses where none of those change. Take I think that's the fingers, but let's say the wrist. You might want to, well, we'll see how it goes, but if she plants her hand here at any point where you want the hand to stick, you're going to want to change that to IK mode. And it's sort of good timing to do that too, because you haven't really animated anything on the arm. So if you did want to do that, you could delete that keyframe and then change this to IK. then you have to go through, pose by pose and add in the the arm positions here. And that's just, I'm just saying that's good if you wanted to do something like have the hand planted at some point where I'm doing it real sloppily, but I think you get the idea where it kind of sticks there. I'm just going to delete all the keyframes here just to give you the idea. I mean, that's a little crazy right now because of is that the arm? Yeah. But just imagine, oh, let's delete the keyframes off that too. Just imagine if there's a part in here where you want that hand to stick, it needs to be IK, like if for that portion you want it to stick. So since you haven't done any animation on the arms, well, or very little on the arms anyways, you wouldn't be losing anything by switching to IK right now. So it's if the arm ever has to stick, it really needs to be IK. If it doesn't stick, it might be easier to do it in FK. In fact, in some ways it is easier to do in FK if the arm isn't going to stick, because otherwise it's like the arm wants to stick, and if it's supposed to be kind of gliding through the air, that's easier to do with FK. So yeah, change camera angle. When you switch tangents, think about your holds. And look at those things that aren't animated, like the hands, fingers, head, and those kinds of things, and get some animation on there. But it's a good... Okay, this is Natalie. Alright, one thing is when you do your play blast, you really need to hide the joints and the curves so we can really see the motion. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, so the main issue with this is you only have the arm moving, and the idea, if you watch the videos in the lesson, is that each pose should adjust every control. So first of all, I might change the camera a little bit just to kind of see the character a little bit better. I mean, it was sort of behind him. I don't know, but you could do all kinds of different stuff. But let's try this. And then the first pose, first of all, the body's intersecting that, and it's just not a very natural, believable pose. Just the way the fingers are just all straight. The everything's really stiff and straight. It's not really well posed. So first thing, I would just adjust the pose, and the idea is that every pose you want to adjust every control, as kind of a good rule of thumb. So I might kind of put a bit of a curve to the spine, and maybe even like a little bit of a twist to the spine, and think about maybe maybe he's tilted this way a little bit and kind of tilted back over here, and if maybe like what's he doing with one hand, like let's see. So let's just make sure we keyframe all those things. Just gonna hit S, and then I'm gonna turn on auto keyframe here, and then so you've got him moving that. So I'm gonna yeah, all you do is have the arm sweeping across there. So I'm gonna just delete out the rest of these as an example, because there's not that much there yet, really. But let's go forward a little bit, and or let's not even do that. Let's keep working on this pose. So let's say this hand is like resting on the counter or something, and if you're going to do something like that, I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete the IKFK control, delete selected, change that to 10. Maybe he's just resting his hand on the counter here. Something like that, and maybe a little bit of a curl to these fingers. and just really get in there. Maybe to just make sure this thumb's on. You really got to do this for each pose. Just really take your time. You know, so already this first pose is looking a little more natural to me. And like, what is he doing? Is he like real focused on his drink, or is he kind of distracted by somebody he's looking at, and then he looks back at the drink? Think about how you want to act this out. You and then so let's say that's our first pose, and just select all, set a keyframe, and then I might go all the way. Maybe the next pose is where he grabs his drink. So kind of think about what he does. Like maybe he shifts his weight over a little bit. Maybe he kind of tilts this way and bends here. But maybe he kind of like whips his head around and looks at the drink. And that, like maybe that grabs it. Actually, I didn't pose the other fingers, which I really should have done on that first pose, but it's a little harder to grab stuff in FK, so you might want to use IK instead. But it's possible. Anyway, so then once again, let's say you're happy with that. I would spend more time on it, but just to give you the kind of basic idea, I'll set keyframe. And so now, going from here to here, if we want, we can go to tangents, change that to auto, and see what that looks like, playing back more smoothly. And you can see that his arm interpenetrates here, so we can do like an in-between frame where this goes. Maybe this goes up first and then sweeps across. And that already even looks more interesting. And maybe his like, his hand could slide a little bit between, I don't know, here and here. So maybe you could add something here. And then he just kind of slides his hand down the counter a little bit. So to me, that's sort of coming to life a little bit more. But the point is, you really got to get into all those controls and think about the pose and really get into the details there. Whereas you were just moving the arm, and that's never going to be enough. And the most important thing is to get kind of the root moving, like stuff like this and this. Like you got to get those rotating and moving to get the character to be alive. Next up is Julia. Yeah, looks like you have some good starts. All right, so there's a couple things that are going a little crazy here. So the first thing is, I don't know if you heard this or not, but I tried to make a point of saying that you do not animate this circle. So, and that's really going to screw everything up if you try to do that. That's just to place the guy at the beginning. So I'm going to delete the animation off of there, but then of course, it's going to stay in place. And then you'll have to put that, let's hide the joints, put that motion back in with this. And why are these tearing off of the body? That's really weird too. So let's go back to the rig file and see if it's happening inside there, or if it has something to do with this scene. Well, it's already off of it here in the rig file. So maybe that was on purpose? Maybe you pulled those off there? Somehow? That seems weird. Oh, you know what? I feel like I remember this from the from my other critique, and I think I said to grab all these to get all these controls and go into component mode and select all these and move them back. If I remember correctly, I feel like I think that was yours, wasn't it? Anyway, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to save that, and then when I reopen the other one, let's hide that image plane. I think that's going to be better. Yeah, okay. So that solves that. Oh, it looks like you didn't make any updates to your set. I just make sure. I hope you're watching these videos because you don't. Nothing seems to have been updated from the videos. So yeah, as I thought I mentioned many times, do not animate this circle. Just use it to place your character in the scene because you're not going to get your feet to stick to the floor if that's animated. I mean, one thing you can kind of try to do is take the X. Does this have a bunch of keyframes on? I mean, it must. But maybe delete the X off of here. This probably won't work, but let's just see what happens. So I delete the X off of there. I take the X from this one, copy it, and then select this one, and then paste it. Nope. That's just kind of crazy. So why is that? Because that's X for that. Oh, they're the same thing. That's 21. Oh, and that's 0. Oh, that's why. Yeah, I guess if you really wanted to try and get that animation back, you'd have to adjust it. Well, let's just follow through with this. So, did you do any? Let's see if there's any real animation on this guy. There probably is. Yes, there is. No, there's not. There's just this one bit. The X is, the Y changes, and the Z doesn't. So the Y is the only thing. So let's try to keep the Y, and then let's kind of look at this one, and see what's on here. So you've got X animation, you've got no Y, you've got Z. That gives me some hope we could kind of pull a little switcheroo here. Let's give it a shot. So what I would do then is, let's start with the X, and we know that's going to be wrong, but so let's copy the X off of the main control, and let's delete this because there's nothing on there anyways, and delete this and paste that, and then let's get the graph editor in here and take that whole X curve and W for move, shift, middle mouse drag, and just get that to line up again here. I don't know if that's still gonna. No, it's weird because it's why isn't it just moving in this X direction? Oh, that moves X and Z? Huh. Okay. Orientation world. Object. Oh, that's confusing. Okay. So, so that forward thing is Z, not X. And this forward thing is Z. Okay, so let's just undo. Okay. I know this is kind of crazy, but alright, so I'm just trying to solve the fact that you animated this curve, and I hope everybody is hearing, do not animate this circle here. You just use that to place your character at the beginning. I said it a lot of times, but maybe not in everybody's critique. So yeah, it was world versus object. So anyway, let's. We didn't have any x or z here, so it doesn't matter. So let's get rid of the x and z, and let's start with the z. So I'm going to try copying this z and paste it on this one. Okay, so good, so far so good. And then delete this one. Alright, let's see if that works. Okay, so actually you're pretty much there. Wait, no we're not, because this thing is still moving forward. What did I do? Okay, now x. Well, let's just give it a shot now. So, object mode, yeah. I don't know. Let's try it. So, copy the x, select this thing, and then paste the x there. Okay, so it's offset. Let's try moving that back into place. I'm not sure why this doesn't seem to be. Yeah, it's just crazy. So I'm wasting time here. The deal is you're just gonna have to redo that part with the correct control. So yeah, let's make sure this is all gone. That control is sort of, oh, and let's get this off of here. Yeah, so we'll just have to, yeah, and this is not, and the feet aren't going to work because now the feet are just moving in place. So you pretty much have to redo those. So you really gotta, I don't know, I hope everybody hears this. So I can't, I mean, I don't really want to redo the whole animation. You just have to do that over again with the feet and using the correct controls. You can probably keep that other body stuff, but you'll need to go through here. And also these feet, it's kind of not so great of a start position for these, but I'd probably zero out the rotate on this, both of these, and get this. You might have to move this down a bit, get those flat on the ground. There we go. So yeah, that could be a starting position. Maybe this one's rolled forward like so, and then I wouldn't go. The next one's going to be, I'm just going to select both of these and middle mouse click here and then hit S, and that'll just keep them the same until they get there. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. You know what, I would probably just delete all of this off, because that's just going to make it harder having all of that stuff on there. And I don't really do the walks pose to pose. I usually do that kind of forward. So I guess it's around here he's supposed to have gotten there. So maybe by here it's there. Let's get rid of this one. And I'll probably, let's just make this auto tangent, because I think for the walk that's just going to kind of confuse stuff, and I'll just get rid of those now. And so now start walking. So maybe this foot's here by this time. I'll roll it the other way. The roll's not working very well. That really is a bummer. I think that's back to a rigging issue, but we're kind of past that now a little bit. Let's make sure these are on auto. And then, yeah, maybe a little further forward. And then this foot, let's make sure this one's keyframed here so it stays put during that time. You know, here we can move this one up a little bit. And then while that one's planted, this one can move forward, so maybe to here. Maybe that goes up a little bit in the middle. And then this one, make sure you set the keyframe here because it's holding between these two. See that? Hold still. Oh, why is it popping? Let's just check that we're on auto. We might want to check our animation preferences for oh, default tangents auto. I don't know why I keep seeing like it's going to stepped. Unless there's something beyond. No? I don't know why what that pop is about. But, you know, maybe it's, you know, he's starting to, whoops. Starting to turn here. Lift the foot up some. Maybe that's more forward and more turn by this point. You know, you're going to have to put more time to make it look more like a walk and try to get the rolls working and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just kind of giving you some of the basic steps of how you need to do this. So yeah, keep working on it, but you're going to have to frankly redo a lot of it because you moved the circle. Alright, this is K. Yeah, I mean, it's a start. I think the turn is you've got a real problem with the feet here, that it's like spinning like a top. Let's take a look at the my file. Okay, yeah, I think we got another example of somebody animating this circle here, and you know, it's just very important that you guys don't do that. So I'm gonna double click here, right mouse click, delete the animation off of that, and you know, if you want her to turn, I don't know what's going on with my perspective view. That's really weird. Editing, blend shape, target. What the heck? Okay, I'll use this one. So, I mean, yeah, you've got a lot of other stuff going on here. And what's the deal with this menu? That's got its own keyframes on it. Got a video which I'll post which shows how to pick up an object and put it down. I'm not going to redo it here because it's better. But, you know, if you want her to turn, let's say the turn's at the beginning here. So, you know, let's just, like, I'll just grab this and let's set a keyframe there, and let's say, you know, the turn's happening over that period of time, I don't know. So I'll have this turn the body, and you know, and then, so what I would do is, I'll delete the keyframes off these. just going to delete the keyframes off this too. Just set that first keyframe. So, you know, it's always move one foot at a time. So, I'll kind of turn this one. Whoops, sorry. So let's maybe turn this one, and then go to, let's say, here, and then maybe she kind of moves and turns that one. You know, I'm doing this a little quick and dirty, but just so you guys get the idea. Oops, I didn't put a holding keyframe on this one, so this one needs to hold until here. I'll just middle mouse click here instead of keyframe so it holds. Oh, you've got some keyframes on these guys too. I don't usually do that. Anything else moving? Okay, so this foot moves and holds, and then that foot moves, and maybe, you know, the body kind of shifts weight a bit over here, something like that. Let's get rid of this. So that foot and then this foot. Probably go further with this one, huh? And then, oh, I think I lost my keyframe for this guy turning. I think we set it turns all the way around by here. Okay. So step, hold, step, and then for this one, make sure there's a keyframe here so it holds between these two. This one holds between 10 and 20, and then now that one's holding. This one can move, you know, and rotate more, something like that. And then go back here, make sure there's a keyframe there, hit S, and then this one, you know, can move into position, whatever, something like that. So let's look at just the kind of the feet and legs. Ignore the arms for a second. You see how that's a little bit more believable? You could put little lifts in now. So it's this one's holding between 10 and 20, but it's between 0 and 10, but it lifts between 10, it moves between 10 and 20, so you could put a little, it could lift a little bit there. But it should be holding between these two. I don't know why it's drifting, so I'm going to click here, middle mouse click there, and hit S. Still seems to be drifting a little bit. I'm just going to look in the graph editor, see what's going on. Why is that? That's weird. Middle mouse click here, S. What? Oh. Oh, it's that lift. Okay. Click here. Middle mouse click here, S. Okay, that fixed it. Alright. I don't know how I messed that up. Whoops. That's that weird perspective view that seems to be broken. Okay, again. Yeah, I haven't gone that far yet, but step, step. Did I break this? So, step, and that one holds. Step. And this should be holding between 20 and 30. So I just middle mouse click and then set a keyframe on 30 to make it hold. Yeah, and then that one moves, and that one moves. And then you'll have to do the arms, so, you know, it goes from here to here. You know, you'll just need to, you know, set the keyframes to make these make some sense. I'm not going to spend loads and loads of time on it, but Oops. I mean, that one. So anyway, you can just keep going. I mean, hopefully you're starting to get the idea of how you'd want to do that. But what you had isn't going to work. And I'll go ahead and find that YouTube video I have of the picking up and putting stuff down, because you're going to need that. This is Shelly, and yeah, not much animation yet, but I just wanted to make sure, you know, select all the controls. What's weird is that, what are you animating here? Because if I select everything, we should see some keyframes, but I'm not seeing them. So that's not the head you're using to animate that? That is weird. Anyways, I'm real curious what you keyframe to get the head to move. I get to find out. There's got to be a way to look that up. I mean, did you go and select a joint and keyframe a joint or something? I'm just curious. No. Oh, it's the complete ring thing. I don't know. Anyway, whatever you did, I think it's the wrong thing, because you should just be selecting these wire controls. And anyways, when you want to, when you want a keyframe, first of all, you should select everything at the beginning and S to set keyframe. So that's the first one. And I'm going to go forward some amount of frames. And then if I want to change the pose, whatever, I'm moving a few things around, you should really go through and carefully do the whole character. But then select all and set a keyframe. And then, you can see it all change. So the process is change, and again, I don't know how you did this head rotate. I want to find out. But you change the time, carefully change the position of the whole character. Ideally, you're changing every single little control on the character, at least a little bit. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. I'm not doing that now because that would just, I don't want you guys to sit through that. So you change all the controls of stuff you want to move. Whatever. Then select all. Then S for set keyframe. So time, position, select all, S. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just keep repeating that for all the poses. Okay, next up is Warren. And yeah, I mean, it's looking really great. Going very well. I don't know what's happening here though. So anyway, let's just take a look in the mind. Okay. Oh yeah, you had something with his eye, right? So the thing about this shot is I can't really tell what's going on here. Let's select the camera, and I don't know if you did any animation outside of this, but I'm just gonna you know, just kind of see if there's anything else going on here. Yeah. I think you're gonna, I don't know that you need to go this wide, but I think you should go wider than you have it, because otherwise it's kind of, although I don't know what that kind of, that shoulder jerking thing is. It's just, I don't really know what's happening in this part. Maybe you can shorten that, because all this is great, the way he runs down there, and that's great. And I don't know what's supposed to be happening here. It looks kind of weird and jerky. And then you've got that. Let's just check this. Please tell me you didn't move this. Please, please, please. Oh, good. Thank God. So let's select all, and I'm curious what this looks like with auto tangents. Something went berserk. What surface is that? Oh, are those parented to the gun? Oh, okay. Or something? Or constrained? Or what do we do here? Not sure what's driving these. Parent constraint. Rotation decomposition target. But it does indeed look like you have constrained this. Let's see if this will tell me. Nope. Maybe if we look here. Can we see the constraint? There's the constraint. Is it constrained to the gun, or what is it constrained to? Okay, parent constraint. Somewhere it tells, I can't remember now, somewhere it tells me the name of the object. Oh, doesn't even. Anyway. That's locked, so it's not that. That is joint cluster inputs. Okay, I don't really know how you set this up. You'll have to let me know. But, yeah, it'd be just kind of cool to see without the. So maybe give me an idea of what you're trying to accomplish here a little bit better, and we can work on that section. But I think it's brilliant. I mean, I think you're doing a great job. I don't really have that much to say. I think once you switch to auto, you're gonna have to look at getting your feet to hold here. For example, click here, middle mouse click here, S, and then those will hold. You can have some foot movement there, but you don't want them sliding anyway. And here, you'll probably want to get these. I mean, he can slide some because he's running down a sandy thing, but for the most part, let's say like this foot, if that one's moving, for the most part, this one shouldn't move too much. I mean, I guess it's not really, but if you might want to lock it down a little bit more, because he's mostly sliding there. And I don't know if he's supposed to be running with footholds. And then here he gets really slidey. So like here, for example, you might want this foot to go between here and here. So I middle mouse click, which updates the time without updating the position. Then I hit S, and that kind of locks it between here and there. Why is that still moving? Here, here, S. Still drifting a little bit. I'm not sure what's moving it. Let's take a look at the graph editor. Oh, because there's other keyframes, some on X, some on... That, no? Maybe it's this, but there's... Oh, is that like some rotate in there? Oh. Maybe it's that. Maybe if I take out that one, it'll stick better. Whoops. Anyway. You know, think about where you want the feet to stick a little bit more, and let's clarify that area, that part, that this section, which it's not clear to me what's supposed to be happening. But yeah, really good work. So regarding the wandering eye issue, let's get to a frame like here. We can see, let's show the nerves curves, and here's this little eye control. So first of all, I don't know how much animation you've done on these, but here's one of these things that kind of can control the eye, and I don't know why it's so far off of the main control, but I'm just going to delete the keyframes off of that, and you don't necessarily have to do that if it's okay. But that fixed that one, and then the other one's just going to be the same name. I'm going to copy the name, select it and copy it, and then type select, because I just don't know where the other one is, paste, and then instead of right, I'm just going to change it so it ends with R for right. I'm going to end with L for left, and so I select the other one, and I'm going to zero that one out and delete selected off of that. So select those, delete selected, and so now, oh, what the heck happened to the camera? Did I break your camera? Anyway, I think that fixed the wandering eye issue. So maybe you have to reanimate your eye, or maybe there's just some keyframe you can fix on there somewhere, but that seems to make it better. Okay, this is Nathan, and yeah, this wasn't really the idea of the assignment. The idea was to put in your full poses, and you just have them kind of gliding across the floor. Also, this is much too long. We're looking for something that's 5 to 10 seconds, and here we're at 25. So let's take a look at the My file. So you're using this, I guess, Mixamo rig or something, and I'm not real familiar with this one, since the class was designed around the advanced skeleton rig. I guess what I'm wondering is how you move the root without moving the feet. I guess you just have to animate that joint then. But I guess what I would say is, much like with the other ones, don't move him by this root, or you'll never get the feet to stick. So you should, you can use that to get his starting point in the scene. Let's just say it's here or something like that, but then don't put animation on it. You would put an animation on the control that gets the body to move so that the feet can stick. I think you're going to have a hard time with this rig. I really think you should use that advanced skeleton rig. This looks like it's going to be painful to get anything real done. I mean, how are you even going to do the fingers? Like, what is it, joint by joint or something? mean, yeah, I really think you should use the advanced skeleton rig as the class is designed for. I think this is going to be a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, there's not really any poses per se on here yet because each pose should have each, finger and joint and shoulder and elbow and neck and everything in each pose as you go through, and you just have them sliding across. So it wasn't really what I was looking for in the assignment. So yeah, your choices are try to use the rig you have, which I'm saying is going to be really difficult to get any good animation, or rig it with the advanced skeleton rig, which it's a little late to do, or use the stock character that I've provided instead of your character. So those are the options I can see at this point. I guess it's ultimately it's up to you. So yeah, nice environment. First pose is pretty good. But yeah, you need to kind of, as far as I can tell, there's no animation here and there's no movie, so you just gotta keep going. Yeah, so just, I guess, once you get some animation, we'll look at this again. Okay, this is Anton. Alright, and there's a lot of good poses in there. I think this is coming along. I think the walk is a bit of a concern. Yeah, let's take a look at Maya. So we've got this. I think there's a lot of time here between that and that. Let's kind of just select all here. Yeah, that's, a few seconds there. It's probably going to be a bit slow. And also you can't, oh no, you didn't move this, did you? No, please, no. Yes, you did. So as I've said before, you don't animate this guy. So you're going to want to kind of redo that. Did you animate this? Because there's no way to get the feet to stick on the ground if you animate this circle. So you're going to want to delete the animation off of the circle and then redo all that. Also, just in general, like looking at the feet, see how like both feet move at the same time here? You can't do that. Like one foot has to stay planted while the other one moves at any time. And you've done that many times. So like here, right, you go from here to there. So one of those feet stay planted, so maybe he moves this foot forward and then that one. But the thing to do, and this is going to be a lot of work, unfortunately, but you're going to have to delete this animation and then, put it all back in with this guy. So looks like you've got some on that, but I'll just kind of look at a little bit. Yeah, and here's an example where you're going from here to here and moving both feet. So you've got to move one at a time. So let's say this one stays planted. Maybe this one stays planted from here to there or something. Could set a keyframe, and this one could move. From here to there. And then this one could stay planted from here to here. I'm just middle mouse clicking, updating that. But the point is, at any given time, one has to stay planted. You can't have both move. So like between here and here, maybe I'll go to here. If I middle mouse click, it updates the time without updating the animation. Then I set a keyframe. It kind of keeps it locked between those two. And you kind of need to go through the whole thing like that. And then you're going to need to go through and animate this to get the guy to move, forward here. you know, let's say he gets there by, I might just take out all these and then go to here and then you know, something like, I don't know. No? Oh yeah, and the feet need to be redone too, but you know, you've got that. I might change this to auto. And then you got to get those feet moving forward each time. So I might just delete all that animation off and just place all the feet going forward. Or you could just cut out this middle part and just do a camera cut and have them be closer to the chair and not do the walk. Which is, you know, in movies you don't necessarily show like a total continuity of movement around the room. Like you might be in one part of the room and then you cut and then you're in another part of the room. Like you're allowed to kind of make cuts that don't show up, you know, a second by second, you know, passage of time. So that'd be another thing. But don't animate the circle. You can use a circle to position the character at the beginning of the scene, but then don't animate it to move the character around because there's no way to make the feet stick if you do that. And if you're walking or even really doing anything where you see the feet, you need the feet to stick. So I can't stress that enough. So yeah, you're going to have to kind of delete some animation out and redo those feet and the body movement there to kind of get back to where you are now. Just a quick thing on these questions. You know, moving the keys inside yellow triangles, just make absolutely sure when you're selecting and arranging keyframes that you have everything selected on the character. So, you know, if you just have some things like right now I just have this one control selected. So if I move that, it's not going to move the rest of the character with it. I have to make absolutely sure that I have all selected if I'm going to move it, and then it'll, you know, and then it should move everything. But I have to have all the keyframes selected if I'm moving or scaling or doing anything like that. Paste Connect, it's a little tricky in general, but what I would say is make sure that for the range that you copy, that there is a keyframe at the beginning and at the end of the range that you're copying of every control that you're copying. And then when you paste, make sure that there is a keyframe on the frame that you are pasting to as the starting point, and then the Paste Connect thing. So try that. But I wouldn't get caught up with trying to do a loop. I think it's just going to cause you more trouble than it's worth. Video reference. I don't know. Make sure you're using an image sequence, and if you're not, and if it's not working, try a different format. If you try, you know, do a JPEG sequence, and if that doesn't work, try like a PNG sequence or something. But don't try to use a video. Try to use an image sequence, a numbered image sequence, and those tend to work a little better.